For generations, a cultural and violent battle has raged among the angels, and the worst enemies have lurked within their own ranks. With crimes, terror, gangs, brothel, and a lot more, today we'll delve into the life of Frank Hanabut, the most feared Hell's Angel ever. So let's get started. Frank Hanabut was the talk of the town in Hannover's nightlife district, and it's not hard to see why. He was basically the kingpin of the area, with his gang of loyal followers helping him build an impressive empire of pubs, brothels, and sports studios. But here's the thing, Hanabut wasn't your typical gangster. He had connections in civil society that most people in his line of work could only dream of. And get this, he was not just all about the business either. Hanabut was a true gourmet, with a taste for the finer things in life. However, the rocker scene changed radically in recent years, and Hannabuth has not endured this development unharmed. He's been a major player in the scene for a while now, kind of a bridge between the underground and the upper crust. And financially, he's doing pretty well for himself, which has made it tough for the cops to crack down on him. But things took a turn when the war between the Hells Angels and the Banditos broke out back in 2007. Hanabuth got caught up in the crossfire and became a target of the investigators. The Hells Angels were trying to beef up their numbers by recruiting young men, but it ended up coming back to bite Hanabuth. One of these guys, a dude named Stefan R., ended up testifying against Hanabuth to get a reduced sentence for human trafficking. Yikes. The conflict between the Banditos and Hells Angels was like a showdown of brotherhoods, but with a lot of brutal violence involved. These two outlaw motorcycle clubs were fighting tooth and nail for control and territory, and they weren't afraid to get their hands dirty to come out on top. This clash of the titans left behind a path of destruction and bloodshed, and it didn't seem like it was going to end anytime soon. Now, let's talk about Hanabuth. This guy was in a tough spot. His gang was dealing with power struggles, the law was breathing down his neck, and even members of his own crew were betraying him. To protect his interests in money, power, and status, he was ready to do whatever it took. In 2013, Hannover made a move from Hannover to Mallorca, a beautiful Mediterranean island in Spain. Word on the street was that the leader of the Hells Angels was tired of the cold and dreary streets of Hannover and wanted a fresh start with a new professional foothold. But was that really the only reason for Hanabut's move? Or was it just another attempt to gain more money, power, and glory? It's hard to say for sure, but one thing's for certain. This guy was determined to come out on top, no matter what it took. Hanabut wasn't one to back down. He continued to fight for his interests, even if it meant breaking the law. He wasn't afraid to make enemies, even within his own gang. As the tension within the Hells Angels continued to rise, the possibility of violence and betrayal was always lurking around the corner. The sunny beaches of Mallorca had seemed like the perfect place for Hanabuth to establish his reign of terror even further, far away from the watchful eyes of law enforcement. But his plans didn't go exactly as planned. Shortly after his arrival, he became embroiled in a conflict with the local authorities, who shut down his business operations. In the end, Hanabut's story became a cautionary tale about the dangers of power and the high price of ambition. It was a story about a man who had been willing to risk everything, even his own life, to achieve his goals. And although he may have been successful in some ways, he ultimately paid a heavy price for his choices. The Hells Angels may have lived dangerously, but in the end, the worst of their actions caught up with them. Just like Hanabuth, their pursuit of power and dominance came with a price. They may have felt invincible and unstoppable at times, but the consequences of their actions were severe and long-lasting.